Morning.
The room feels busy and crowded, but in my opinion, it's capacious. I call this meeting of Lake Mary Toastmaster Club 6440 to order. Before we proceed with the meeting, please silence your cell phones. I would like to ask everyone to stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Our club mission is to provide a supportive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. With that said, please help me welcome our Toastmaster this morning, Julie Cochran.
Tomorrow marks October 27th, 1924 marks the day that Toastmasters created tomorrow.
Yes.
93. So tomorrow. So I'd like everyone to pick up your mimosas. And let's to every member here, to all members in around the world Toastmasters, to inspire you in your skills of becoming an aspiring communicator and leader. Cheers to you.
Cheers, everybody.
We have an absolutely packed agenda with 3 wonderful speeches. Because I don't have time, although we do have some table topics that we're going to squeeze in, and so hone up on your skills, I put a crossword puzzle for Toastmasters. So take a look at that when you have time in between speeches and see how well you know your organization that you're a member of. I'd like to introduce our technical table. Without them, we would not have a very robust and capricious meeting.
Capricious.
Capricious. I say capricious. Coming in for our timer roll and pinch hitting, please welcome Carrie as our timer this morning.
My function is to time the speakers, evaluate tabletop and participants to ensure that they meet the timing requirements. Today for our speakers, there's 2 minutes left to get a green card with 1 minute, yellow card with a red card when their time is up. Table topics, the cards will be at 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and 1 minute. And for our evaluators, so the green card at 2 minutes, yellow card at 2.5, and the red card at 2 minutes.
All right, thank you, Carrie. Our grammarian this morning is Susan Michael. Good morning.
As grammarian, it is my function to select a word of the day, which is capacious, to help build members' vocabularies. Each member, when called upon to speak, is encouraged to use the word of the day. Other members may gently rap on the table when they hear a member use the word. And the word of the day is capacious, capable of holding much, spacious, or roomy. Is it that small or is it just me? Okay. Okay, example is a capacious storage bin. In addition, I will be listening for any errors in grammar as well as excellent word selections. I will also be noting any colorful thoughts or phrases members might use. During the evaluation portion of the meeting, I will present my report.
Great, thank you. And now on our technical table, as all counter, Ernst Urbanchek.
Good morning, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and yes, as count, it is my function to listen for the use of filler words such as you know, so, okay, and other audible pauses as fillers. I will be noting if members perform any double clutches. This means to say things twice, such as this means, finally. I will also include things that might be distracting, such as lip smacks. Is that what it is? Close. I will present my report during the evaluation report of the meeting. I have a capacious plastic box here, which still needs money for 50/50s. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Ernst. Now, in addition to our 50/50, we have a wonderful drawing as well for some Toastmaster items. Inside this capacious box, maybe by the time the meeting's over, I'll have it. We have a double pen and pencil set. We have a Toastmasters business card container, and we have a lanyard. So you too could possibly win these nice items. Celebrating our 90th anniversary this year. Our guest, you are in for a treat today. We have 3 awesome speakers. You'll know that once you hear them. And we're going to get started right now with the first speaker. He's been a member for Toastmasters for about a year. And he joined, probably why 90% of most of us join, is to get over our fear of speaking, to get up here and be able to be somewhat coherent when we speak. So please welcome our first speaker. Words not spoken.
So yesterday, I had to come up with an idea as to what to talk about using body language. Some of you, much like myself, procrastinate to the very last minute. So in order to inspire some kind of thought, I took a shower, figured the hot water over me would help me come up with this grand idea to come up with what do I want to talk about. Except when I got in the shower, it felt like I was in a scene from Dragnet, 705. Water cascades across my body. Place a droplet of shampoo. Scrub hair vigorously. 708. Wash body, wash face. 712. Towel off. I get out. That didn't work. It was a fail. Damn. What can I do? So, think like Ernest Hemingway. I'll go to the beach. So I got on my motorcycle. Went down 46, north on 44, past the big trash pile you guys are all familiar with and a wonderful smell. I started thinking, put on some yoga music to kind of calm myself. Cruising down the road, and realized I should probably pay attention to the road. I wasn't. Get all the way to the beach, head south on the main strip there, find a little inlet where the ocean's at on my left side, pull in there, park the bike, stand there in the ocean breeze. This is what Hemingway was about. Damn, I got nothing. So there I was, like, okay, where else can I go? Well, can't think on an empty stomach. Where's the one place you can go on the beach that probably has something decent to eat? Ice cream. Love ice cream. So, hauling over to the ice cream shop at the Baskin Robbins, pull inside there, order up my 3 scoops like a little piggy, and yum. So I start picking out. And I'm sitting there, look over the parking lot through the window, and the minivan pulls up, and 2 Cub Scouts get out. I was like, these kids are probably gonna try to sell me something. Little peddlers, how dare they? So, sure enough, this little kid, hat on crooked, you know how you see kids walk on their toes, just all excited about life, comes through the door dings. He says ding. I was like, oh, here we go. But he marched up to me with all the authority of a police officer about to hand me a citation and says, do you want to buy some candy? I was like, no, son, I don't. I'm having ice cream, thank you. His face was sad. I got the boo-boo lip. So we continued on to the next people over. They said the same thing. His face just kind of fell. He goes to the counter, and the counter was like, sure, kid. So as I'm watching, they're doing their exchange. I guess they got him some candy, whatever, or purchased this candy, excuse me, whatever. I decided, you know what? Let's change this a little bit. I walk up to the kid, I was like, kid, I don't have anywhere to put your candy, but let me buy you an ice cream. His face lit up like a kid on Christmas. And it was right then when Ernest Hemingway hit me. As the lady reached for the ice cream scoop, pulls it out from the pool in which it once came. The water droplet falls delicately back in the pool like a friend returned to a party. She scrapes the ice cream across as it cascades of gelatinous, chocolatey goodness, ripping over like an ocean current, packing it tighter and tighter like a gardener packing the dirt on its favorite rose bush. Scoops up this chocolatey coal with a hope diamond for this child lying within. The kids' faces light up because there's fog on the window as all sets of eyes are fixated on this. She scoops it up and delicately places it upon the cone like the church steeple delicately placed on the church. The excitement overtakes this child. He starts hopping up and down as she slowly withdraws the ice cream cone from the frozen wasteland which it once came. Reaches across the counter to hand the kid, and he starts hopping up and down even faster, like a unicorn who just realized I have wings. And then the kid takes it and licks it across with the greatest of ease and excitement, just full of glee. Then the brother comes up and taps him on the shoulder. It's like, hey, we gotta get out of here. All right. So he takes off. And at that moment, I remembered my childhood when I was a Cub Scout, and all these little fun memories come of having ice cream, and it was just a great moment. And then at that exact same moment, I thought, this little shit didn't say thank you. So, I'm sitting there pissed off, like, how dare he? As the kid goes across the parking lot, reaches for the handle, he stops, looks back through the window, and throws me a wave. Whoa. And I was like, damn. And it was at that moment that I realized that words not spoken sometimes have the most meaning. Madam Toastmaster.
We have a minute for evaluations, and for our guests, you're most welcome. There's sheets at your place, you can write your own formal evaluation on what you thought of my speech. Thank you, Mary. Our second speaker this morning has spoken or has done the speech before. And the goal of the touching project that he's working on from the storytelling manual is to evoke emotion from the audience. 3 years ago, Stephen crafted such a speech, and with it, he placed second in the District International Speech Contest, which is a feat in itself. That's a big deal. If you've not been to our conferences, you need to go and you'll understand what a feat that was. A good speech keeps on giving. So this morning, Stephen is dusting off that old speech to see what polishing it needs and to let it shine again. Please welcome Advanced Toastmaster Gold, Stephen Morgan. Are you smarter? The fifth grader.
The days were long. The future a mere fantasy. There were games upon games left to be played. That endless summer would stretch on, but it'd be the last lived fully in the moment. It was the summer of 1981, the summer of innocence, the summer before 5th grade. Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests, are you smarter than a 5th grader? Like me, did you yearn and fear the arrival of that golden envelope? The one that would tell you who your teacher would be. Oh, I hope I get Mr. K. All the girls have a crush on him. All the boys just want to be like him. Mr. K isn't just cool. Being in Mr. K's class makes you cool. That summer ended the day the envelope arrived. I am Mr. K. I am Mr. K. I am Mr. K. Mr. K was in his 20s, lanky, bit geeky, and very creative. For example, instead of just teaching us about the Oregon Trail, he had us become the settlers, crossing the plains in their Conestoga wagons. What did you learn about economics in 5th grade? Mr. K's students developed companies, advertising, and a stock market. Mr. K even gave me personal time on his own state-of-the-art Atari 800. That year I learned to program. Basic. I was in nirvana. Alas, all was not perfect in paradise. Mr. K had a temper. When he got upset, we missed recess to write essays. And if a project wasn't going the way he wanted, well, stop! Sit down. You just want to horse around and after all the work I put into it, fine. You can just sit here and be quiet. Oh, you think that's funny, do you? Fine. Go sit outside until you're ready to take this seriously. Go on, move it. I said go! But it wasn't books on the table that he pushed over. It was me. Oh. In full view of the whole class, Mr. K propelled me over desks and chairs to the ground. I had not been laughing. Are you smarter than a 5th grader? What would you have done? Whom would you have told? Nobody spoke up. The other kids didn't. I didn't. Whom would I tell? What if they said I deserved it? Or worse, what if they believed me? And Mr. K lost his job. For that, he could have gone to jail. I would be a pariah. The crybaby who drove away everyone's favorite teacher and ruined 5th grade for everyone. What if I never got to program on that Atari 800 again? Oh, you think that's funny, do you? What would you have done? The next morning, Mr. K got up in front of the class. And he said, my behavior yesterday was unacceptable. I was angry, but I should not have lost my temper. I was wrong. And I apologize to all of you, most especially to Stephen. An apology, that's what I got. Was it enough? Should I have spoken up? Was I naive to forgive? I was only in 5th grade. My summer of innocence is long past. Today, because of Mr. K, I have a master's degree in computer engineering. Today, because of Mr. K, I am an expert software engineer, Java developer. Today, because of Mr. K, this still haunts me. If I had just spoken up then, I could have gotten what I deserved. I could have had justice! Years later, Mr. K dealt with his anger with a bullet. I had spoken up then. I could have been responsible for that. Fellow Toastmasters, could you accept that guilt? Or could you accept that apology? Honestly, are you smarter than a fifth grader?
Thank you, Stephen. Mary, can we have a minute on the clock? Our third and final speaker this morning fervently desired to be a ballerina as a child. I drank too many mimosas as well.
Very capricious.
But for a variety of reasons, some even valid, she was dissuaded from this pursuit. Disappointed but never losing her love of ballet, help me welcome distinguished Toastmaster, Ms. Stephany Bird.
Does art imitate life, or does life imitate art? I'll let you decide. Distinguished Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, welcome guests. In a time in the ballet world, what the most sought out look was round, petite, dainty ballerinas. This was the desired look. And for years, they did not veer off from that. Until one day, a new silhouette danced her way into the ballet world, into the hearts of the people. She was tall, angular, agile. She was enchanting, a joy to behold. Her name was Tanaquil Leclerc. She could do amazing things with her body. The ballet world clamored for her attention, for her talent. She quickly became the muse of George Balanchine, Jerome Robbins. George Balanchine, she later married. They both loved her, but he captured her heart. She was born in 1929 in Paris, France, the daughter of a French writer and an American debutante. In 1941, she auditioned and won a scholarship for the American Ballet School. She was on her way. When she was 15 years old, George Balanchine wrote a charity production and asked her to dance with him. In this production, he portrayed polio, and she was his victim. Little did they know, this was an ominous portent of things to come. In the dance, he hovered over her, and paralyzed, she fell straight into the floor. She lay there until children tossed dimes at her. and she was prompted to get up and dance again. In 1949, she went to Paris with a friend and became enchanted with the city of her birth. She did not want to leave. She even got to dance there. They both did. She said to her friend Betty Nichols, "I love Paris. I'm not going back." But this was not to be. They had invested too much time in Tammy, as she was known. So she quickly rejoined the fold, again regaining the hearts and captivating everyone around with her unique style of dancing. It was said of her that the latest star of the New York City Ballet Company, which George Balanchine had just formed, had such a type and style that she became known as a woman able to portray any role in any ballerina. She was the prima of all the prima donnas. She studied, she worked hard, and she danced her way all over the world. In 1956, the company was touring Europe. But most of the ballerinas had taken their polio shots before they left. Tanny put it off. I'll wait till I get there. Epidemic had broken out in Europe by this time. So Tanny went with the other people remaining and lined up to take the vaccination. At the last minute, she got off the line, which would prove tragic. The next day, she collapsed in Copenhagen and spent the next several months in an iron lung machine. For those of you who don't know what an iron lung machine, have never seen one or a picture of one, that's because you've been blessed or fortunate enough to be born in a time when polio was all but eradicated. I'll show you what it is like. It was an intimidating piece of equipment, but it was life-saving. It worked on a decompression, negative pressure system that took over the breathing function of the lungs. Polio paralyzed from the neck down. And this machine that looked like a monstrosity, people lay in it 24/7, and the machine compressed their lungs and allowed them to breathe until the lungs regained their natural function or they died, and many of them did die. There were wards, as you'll see, of people wrapped in stacks. Sometimes they were in wall units and they just pushed them in. They looked like burial vaults. And this is what it was like in the 50s. In the United States as well, polio was a big problem. Eventually, she recovered enough to go home, but she would never walk or dance again. She went home and maintained residence in Connecticut with her husband, George. Her mother came to take care of her. Tammy said the hardest part about being in her condition was this: I have to depend on my mother, who I barely know. Her own mother, Edith, said, "I don't know my daughter well. I had always packed her off to a ballet school." Her father had long since faded from the scene. Realizing he was redundant, the wife didn't need him, all of her attention was focused on Tammy, he turned to drink and was never heard of anymore. Eventually, George got tired of being the caretaker and turned his attentions to his latest muse. You see, his love interest and his professional interest always went hand in hand. Tammy was his fourth wife. This was nothing new for him. And he was old enough to be her father. The marriage was not easy, but they managed for 16 years until he departed the scene. It seemed that this bright star was destined to fade into oblivion. Or would it? Tammy still had oil in her lamp. Instead of wallowing in self-pity, regret, or shoulda, coulda, wouldas, this elegant lady, who was very much engaged in the present, did this. Wheelchair and all, she returned to ballet, this time as a teacher and a writer of books. She could inspire from her own experience and for her love of the art other ballerinas, and she taught well. In later years, she reconnected with a fellow dancer and choreographer, I believe his name was Arthur Mitchell, and helped him teach in Harlem at the Harlem School of Ballet. Not having feet or legs, she used her hands and her arms. They became her feet and her legs. She could demonstrate the steps and count out music, like the ballet steps like that. The life of this wonderful woman is depicted in a documentary film called An Afternoon with a Farm. It is unique because it's inspiring without all of the gossip and dirty little undertones that you find in these stories. Try to see it if you can. It's about a wonderful lady named Tammy. So I will ask you again, does life imitate art, or did art imitate life? Pictures of Tammy.
Thank you very much. I told our visitors they were in for a treat. I hope that you. And here, we have 1 minute for evaluation.
Should she have a mimosa?
I'm awake now.
That's okay.
There's an extra one right here. Is that yours?
That's
There
yours.
you go.
Thank you, Diane.
Oh, Diane needs two.
No.
There's one over here for you, Steph.
Steph.
I got
Cheers.
it. Oh, just one.
I'll
Just
take
one.
one.
Oh, give one to Erika.
You always take
I could use a little alcohol. After all the alcohol last night, I feel.
That's made
I
it.
saw it on
We
Facebook.
had the barbecue for eradicating polio.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh my
I am
gosh.
gonna send
Ines
it
was there. I
to them.
remember you
I
were there.
want Stephen to send me a copy so I can send it to
You were there last
Rotary.
night?
I might ask
I
you to
saw
be a
that.
speaker.
Well, you see, I remember kids in the neighborhood wore braces and things.
I had no idea.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. The next section of our agenda is on the table topics portion of the meeting, and that's when everyone has an opportunity to speak. Please welcome to the lectern our table topics master, Miss Diane Manikowski.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. Of course, this was a very difficult table topics to do. I had to rack my capacious mind, meaning full of information, not the spacey part, in order to get some questions for this. So today, we're going to try, and I don't have very much time, so I hope that we can get through all these. Toastmaster seeks to instill the qualities of integrity, respect, service, and excellence in its members. Erika. Oh no, I forgot. Recent polls have shown that 80% of the country is dissatisfied with our congressmen and other political leaders because they lack the essential qualities valued in Toastmasters. Erika, if mandated to attend Toastmasters for at least 2 years before serving in office, how do you think they could benefit from the club, and what is the name and nature of the manual you would use to instill lasting Toastmaster qualities, storytelling excluded?
That is an excellent question, Madam Table Topics Master. I too have invited a family member who is currently running for State House of Representatives because in my heart, I really wanted him to see the value of Toastmasters. Toastmasters prepares us by giving us an objective. You have an objective to meet when you're speaking. Get to the point. If you're asked a question, answer the question versus being trained to say what you've always said. I truly do believe that every politician should be mandated to Toastmasters for 2 years so that they can get to the objective. Thank you, Table Topics Master.
Of course, some of you don't know this, but Toastmasters also has its own Speakers Bureau, which is a body of professional speakers.
Alexandra, your name has been recently added to the Toastmaster Speakers Bureau. What type of speaker would you most likely be? Inspirational, motivational, comedic, informative, whatever. And what topic or topics would you choose to share with the audience?
Madam Table Topic Master. Wow, what an honor. And honestly, it will be a very difficult decision for me to make. However, I feel my inclination is more to inform. I like those type of speeches as well. Being silly, maybe, I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm just trying to be myself, and I definitely feel comfortable maybe with the entertaining speech. Thank you.
Thank you. Nicole, if you were to be recognized for something unique to you in Toastmasters, would you be honored in the Toastmasters Hall of Fame or shamed in the Toastmasters Book of World Records? And for what would you be recognized?
I would be honored for my confidence and uniqueness, and I would be honored for my confidence, my uniqueness. I would be shamed for my inability to give long enough table topics.
Toastmasters also strives to help us develop skills in listening, giving feedback, decision-making, you watch it, delegating and mentoring. Carrie, if we asked your spouse or significant other, which skill would he or she say you need the most work on, and tell us the reason why?
Clearly it's listening. This is by far a huge problem of mine because I'm forever interrupting him when he's speaking, and of course he never listens to what I say either because I talk all the time. So, probably pretty much what he's
Now, the earliest clubs taught their gentlemen members how to make toasts and simple speeches at events. Jessica, describe the event that you are attending tomorrow night and make an appropriate toast to the person, group, or event.
Table topics master. I hate giving toasts. I really do. I need tons and tons of prep time for it. Usually when we are making a toast, it's usually at a wedding. So let's just say I'm at a wedding for someone cheap because they didn't want to pay the weekend fee, so they're going to have a midweek wedding.
Yep.
We all have to go. Hopefully it's for a good friend of mine, and I need time. I need time to prep the speech. Actually, this did happen to me at one of my very good friends' weddings, and the maid of honor, who's also a friend of ours, just completely forgot to write a speech. Completely forgot. And she was terrified of public speaking. And I had already been in Toastmasters, so they decided I was going to give a speech. So I ended up writing a pretty nice, short speech that was kind of funny, and I think encompassed everything about her, let her know we were good friends and entertaining. And I did that about 30 minutes, so I can't give a toast right on the spot right now. Give me like 30 minutes. Thank you.
Thanks, Diane. Nice job, everybody. All right, it's my time to depart from the lecture, but welcome our general evaluator for our educational part of our meeting, Ms. Jesica.
Started with our evaluation. I'm a little rusty, so if I fall out of order or anything, please feel free to correct me and I'll get us back on track.
Sure will.
You come to the right place.
So I'm going to start with our first evaluating, it'll be Martin Bell evaluating Mike Hughes.
we get to this gentleman right here, I'd just like to say thank you for Julia. As most of my friends know, I have a capacious tolerance, so mimosas Tuesday at 7:30 is a terrific idea. All right, Mr. Hughes, terrific job. The objective of the speech was to use stance, body movement, eye contact, and expressions to enhance the verbal message. And I think Mike clearly achieved that objective throughout the entire speech. He started out very well by drawing us all into a shared experience, preparing for our speeches, coming up with topics. Yes, I know, because I've been grilled by Toastmasters on Monday night saying, what's the topic for your speech? And I still have no idea. So Mike drew us in, telling us about getting ready, trying to think of an idea while taking a shower. Good stuff. I think that's something I might try
my shower
next time. And then he began to tell us the journey, beginning with his ride to the beach, and yes, going up I-4 and then drifting eastwards towards I-95 and passing that stinky landfill on the right. Yes, when I have the windows down. Putting those windows up, clearly. And then beginning to tell us about the story with the kid and the ice cream. I appreciated how he did actually stand up on his tippy toes, as some young boys will do who are excited, and utilizing the body movement and the expressions, and something that we've all seen before when kids are excited and walking as they might. I also appreciated the use of variety of language. I especially noted the ice cream falling back into the ice cream bucket like a friend going back to a party. You know, we've all had those experiences from the party. It's just so good, you're thinking, I want to leave. No, here's my song. Let's get back. Also, the kid then looking over the ice cream bucket, fogging up that mirror. We can see that, we can picture that in our minds. And then the boy trembling and hopping once again as he gets excited for the ice cream. And again, the use of words, like a unicorn finding out it has wings. I don't know where you come up with this stuff, Mike. But it's terrific. Writing these down and putting these in the ball. But to top it all off, you had us when you said that little shit didn't say thank you. All had that happen, more than once. So Mike, I think you clearly outlined the, achieved all the objectives. My only concern, and this is a little one, my only suggestion might be perhaps to reduce the amount of pacing. At some points it could include a little bit of nervousness and whatnot, but other than that, terrific job. Words not spoken, as you mentioned at the end, words that are not spoken have the biggest meaning. And so, terrific job.
Thank you, Mark. So moving right along, we have Erika B evaluating Stephen Morgan.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters and guests, and especially Stephen. Thank goodness that this room is capacious enough for some of the emotions and projecting objects that we have in the room. How many of you, with the title, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? As you saw Stephen centered and jumpy, were prepared for some humor because he was very funny. Okay? You did such a great job at capturing my attention from the beginning because there's a lot of bodies here today. So I commend you for coming forward and grabbing our attention with humor. It's always a great way to start the room. You used describatory words such as I was in Nirvana. So I'm envisioning my version of Nirvana. Nirvana. Did I say Nirvana?
Nerdvana.
Nerd. Oh my God. That makes it even better. Okay. So the objective of this speech was to storytell and evoking emotions. As I was ready for humor and variations in the tone, To my surprise, I saw objects project in the room, and it immediately created an emotion of fear. An emotion of fear, and there is a study called emotional intelligence, and that is what you're programmed to react when something happens. If you've been bitten by a dog, once you've been bitten by a dog, you're never the same around a dog. So if I'm hearing humor and I see books on the table, I'm going to be eager to hear. I wasn't prepared for that, and sometimes that is the objective when you're in a theater. You're ready for that drama, that large crash, something that you didn't expect. So all the points and the objective were made very clear. Some suggestions for me was when you did your large yell, your pitch went from really high to really low. So maybe it was because it was in the back of the room, but it was a little bit hard for me to hear the next thought. Another suggestion is maybe at the time, Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader was tongue-in-cheek because of the TV show, but what I got out of it and the emotions created were guilt versus apology. I apologize for going over today, but I will say this because it's very important. The reason that I'm always late is because I'm driving my teenager to school because I don't want the guilty conscience if he can't get there. He just got his driver's license, and as I'm driving, I notice that his pitch gets really loud when he's really nervous. And I told him very quietly, I said, you need to watch your tone. That can get you fired. And it's those teachings. It's not the fifth grader's fault. Thank you for sharing that story with us. But it's those that are raising that individual to know how to react in a case of emotional intelligence, that they know how to react. You did a wonderful job explaining your personal story, and I commend you for sharing that with you. I've been told that you used this story before, so I'm sure you had a lot of big eyes, and I look forward to hearing another one. So thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you, Erika. And now we're moving on to our third and final evaluator. Gus D will be evaluating Stephany.
Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and specifically Stephany, where you're right over there. Great storytelling. You got up here, you were well prepared, and as you told the story, does life imitate art, or the contrast, does art imitate life? In telling the story, you use very descriptive words because the aim of this, the objective was, how do you describe a story that people will get the emotions, the feelings in the story? You did that very well. I can feel the movements in the story. I traveled with you to Paris, France, where things were there, and Copenhagen, and all the places you took us. I was in that mode with you. I can be there. I can see the ballerina. And one of the things probably I suggest, you move this play, you should have done some ballerina here.
I told you they stopped me.
You did very well with the use of the timeline. You gave dates and places. And that can keep one in the story as you moved along. They're very good use of the visual aids you passed around. You timed it very well. Because sometimes we are speaking and you pass out a piece of paper. Everybody just look and you're talking, but you timed that very well. When you spoke about polio with our ballerina going through that, I can imagine, you know, what that looked like when your career is going to be changed, when your life is going to be now determined by the very fun you've had in the excitement. You built that up very well. You did not use my suggestion, you did not use lots of dialogue, conversation, back and forth. There were one or two instances when you did that. That's one suggestion. But you're a great storyteller. You can bring people's emotion in the story. You bring them there, they are there, and even though things can be empty, you can be capacious. You can feel the with your descriptions. there was a great climax to your story because that's needed in the evaluation. What was the climax? As you ended the story, I thought she was never going to do ballerina again, but you described with motions your hands what she did in the end. And then you invited us to be able to watch the movie and the film. Great story. It was indeed a touching story. Madam General.
And now we will move on to our technical table. And I'm going to go ahead and start with our grammarian, Suzalyn.
Okay, for Julia, I really liked when you said, I say capricious, you say capacious. And all the speeches were great. I really enjoyed Mike's because you were really funny. I liked it when you said, damn, I got nothing good. I felt that way a few times. I could relate. Steve, that was very touching, and at times, I didn't know what was going to happen. And I was moved. And I like that I was in Nirvana. Is that a word? Okay. And then Stephany, that was very touching and sad. And I didn't even remember any specific sentences. But everyone who did the word of the day, Alexandra, Ernst, Julia, Diane, Martin, Erika, and Gus. Sorry if I missed anyone.
Julia eventually.
Thank you.
Tried several times.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, she did.
Okay, moving on to our timer, third bird. How do we do on time?
For our speakers, Mike would have 5 to 7 minutes, and it was 5 minutes, 9 seconds. Stephen had 6 to 8 minutes, it was 6 minutes, 17 seconds. Stephany, 6 to 8 minutes, was 8 minutes or 35 seconds. Our evaluators, Martin was at 3:09, Erika 3:31, and Gus at 2:42. And for our table topics, Erika was 39 seconds, Alexandra 30 seconds, Nicole was 30 seconds, Jesica was 1 minute and 6 seconds, and I didn't time myself, but it was probably about 20 seconds because that's about what I averaged.
All right, let's see how much money we made today. Let's do things check our log counter.
Madam General Evaluators, fellow guests, and Toastmasters, Suzalyn, you had 3 R's, 2 M's, and 2 N's. Julia Kaufman, you had 1 R and 1 N. Mike Hughes, I counted 4 so's. Stephen Morgan was perfect. Ooh. Stephany Burns, perfect, but there was 1 so. Diane, congratulations, only 1 R.
Oh.
Erika
Mimosa.
was 1 so. Other than that, it was perfect. Alex, 2 R's and nothing else. Nicole, you had 2 N's and 1 pause, or 2 pauses. Carrie, you had 1 R, so, and 1 N. Then Jesica, 1 R, 1 so, and 4 N's. Where's Jessica? Oh, there she is. I'm sorry. Martin, I counted 5 R's, 1 and 2 N's. And Gus was perfect like usual.
I wrote it down so I wouldn't say it.
Now I'll give just a brief evaluation of the meeting in general. And I thought it was a great meeting. I think you had a great topic, Julia. I really would have loved to have heard more tidbits about Toastmasters and history, but I know we had a super packed agenda, so we didn't have a lot of time for that. And bringing mimosas is awesome because everyone had alcohol in it.
Probably a first.
And when you said that everyone and our guests were lucky to hear the speeches today, I so agree with you, because I love hearing stories from people, whether they're funny stories about a kid who doesn't say thank you and how you are just writing your speech the day before, because everybody does that sometimes. Or it's an emotional experience that really shaped you as a person. It's I know it's hard to tell those stories sometimes to people, and we really appreciate you sharing that with us, and I think everyone really liked the speech. It was wonderful. Table topics. Diane, I know that was a hard topic to do, and you had some really, really great questions. The one suggestion I would make, though, is to ask the question first and then call on the person, because then everybody's sweating thinking, oh, I'm going to answer that question. But it was really, really great. So I think, in general, we just had a wonderful meeting. And now I'd like to call up our president, Erika.
Let's talk about business. Next week, we have our Toastmaster, Stephen. Speaker 1, Suzanne.
It's Halloween.
Alexandra. Gus is also a speaker, so those are our 3 speakers. Table topics, Julia. Evaluator, Ernst, Nicole, and Diane. Odd counter, Paul. Grammarian, Jessica. Timer, Hadi. Okay. So with that, if you haven't gone into Easy Speak, please confirm your roles if you can, and get Stephen what he needs way before Monday. That would be greatly appreciated.
Way before.
How many of you have received the Toastmaster magazine?
Everyone should be paid dues.
Yes.
Okay. Mine says, please fix, because it has the wrong address, so that's why I wanted to ask in case I was lucky to get mine. But I want to share with you a few notes here, because if you haven't had a chance to read it, I'm going to reference it more often, because it truly is an asset to receive this. I'm part of a few other organizations that have a magazine, and I'm aware of how much thought goes into it. I'd like to find out from our public relations person how we can get in there. I think it would be a fantastic opportunity for us. It says, one of the funny little anecdotes here, it says 5% of the people think, 10% of the people think they think, and the other 85% would rather die than think. And that was quoted by Thomas Edison. Some really great humor in here. Just a little tidbit of that. I also want to welcome up here Alexandra Balda. Finished her Competent Communicator Manual, and now she has done her Competent Leadership Manual as well. And you have been a member for just barely, not even a year yet? October a year. She did 2 manuals in 1 year, and for that I commend you. Here's your beautiful pen. Let's give Alex. Agenda, if you see the abbreviations next to people's names, once they've achieved their manual, make note when you're writing the agenda if there's a title that someone may not have. Is it possible that I have a volunteer to send a current one? Because right now, Diane, our treasurer, does not show that she's completed her CC, and Alex now has 2 titles. So I just want to make a note that as we're rushing and going through, to just take that extra second and make sure you have the most up-to-date agenda, okay? I see we have another guest in this room.
Another one?
So I'm gonna ask you to stand and introduce yourself again to us.
All right, thanks. I'm the
What's your news?
John I'm actually here to see how you guys are doing, present you an award for the Roadshow Incentive, Moments of Truth and so forth. I think that goes to who?
President.
This is everyone's. I also want to ask Nicole to give us your thoughts on what you thought of the meeting as our guest.
Not yet. How many tickets?
Her name is.
You can stand if you want, but it'd be best.
It was a really great meeting, and I was glad to hear so many different kinds of speeches, ones which evoked emotion and ones which were good stories. And
We're not charging you today.
and I'm glad that my stepfather brought me along. I will continue on with this Toastmasters in the future, wherever I go.
And your stepbrother that you claim is?
Stepfather.
Stepfather. Guest that had to leave. He did say thank you for the opportunity, and he was sitting. Samuel was his name, and he said he really enjoyed it, so he was your guest. Fantastic. Let's see how much money we are raffling off today.
We have a record amount of money. This is the first time. $31.
Must be the champagne.
Well, let's have our area governor.
Other things to win.
I'll take it. Which number?
Last minute.
Wait, last minute.
Oh, wait.
Wait,
Let's see
Wait, I want some. Wait, give me one.
Okay, last minute. Let's do it. That sounds great.
Oh, okay.
This is as they're doing that, this is the ribbon that we just achieved, Susan.
Eric,
Who is this one?
while they're doing that, I'm going to just say a quick announcement that I forgot.
No, just a second.
Okay, and for everybody, I meant to when I was up there doing Topics Master. Most of you don't know or don't care, maybe, I don't know, but in your Confident Leadership book, to get where Alexander has, in Project 1, there's a place for a table topic speaker. And if you were a speaker at any time, have somebody sign your book on Project 1 and then start putting on your completion record, and you can get that under your belt and get closer to Confident Leadership.
So take a note of your book where you have to sign off. She's pointing out something that some of us may have missed. All right, that is the record number. What's the new total? Aren't you higher? Did you donate?
Ticketmaster.
Did you miss that? Well, get lights out of the top.
Ready?
Ready.
Wait, Andy.
This is for the 50.
I'll
What's
hold
this
it,
for?
you
The
pick.
50?
Okay, good number.
The money or the gift?
The money.
John, you know me.
Who has a red ticket?
Go.
2, 3, 0, 0, 5, 2, 9.
That's Gus. Oh, no, it's not that. Buying us ice cream.
Next one is for the anniversary items. Next one's for the anniversary items.
I still give you
One for each one or one for the whole bunch?
It's for all of them. It's 8:33.
Okay. Y'all ready?
Yes.
2300474.
That doesn't exist.
474. Let's see. Yeah.
She asked, take note, that's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
That's it.
Congratulations.